class. So what are the problems of a global world? These are the major challenges that students in different disciplines and professionals in their careers have been grappling with to an increasing frequency over the last couple of decades. Most of these are largely a result of rapidly increasing populations and large densities of populations within cities, rural to urban migration, and the overexploitation of natural resources on the earth, and also the great pollution created from the overuse of those resources, and a lack of investment in and incentives for people and cultures to clean up the trash created from resource overuse. Currently, the world grapples with the impending catastrophe of climate change on our environment and how it will affect different spaces and geographies all over the world where people live. How to provide sufficient energy for the world's populations, but also in a clean way so that we're not producing more trash that's destroying the world and the environment's ecologies in which we live. Of course, these issues are also related to pollution throughout the world. These are affected by things like climate change and also energy usage, but there's also cultural attitudes toward pollution. In some societies, there are few social sanctions on polluting and creating more trash in the environment around you. Also, the great distribution in wealth among nations results in some wealthy nations using up the resources of poorer nations and being the cause of significant pollution by factories, because in poorer nations, there's more incentive to make money, even if it means polluting the local environment around you. And the greater the economic inequality, the more difficult it is for people in poverty to rise up against corporate and government powers in order to prevent pollution of their areas. Clean water is a major problem all over the world, though clearly it's more of an issue in some places than others. India, for example, has grappled with some serious clean water shortages. Sufficient food via agriculture is a major issue throughout the world and is affected by climate change, which also has some impact on increases in natural disasters and environmental productivity. Clearly, with the increases in the numbers of people throughout the world, we must produce more food to feed more mouths. And agriculture is the way. We haven't yet created a new cultural way of producing food that can replace agriculture. And what would that even look like? We could imagine something like replicators on Star Trek Enterprise, where someone says Earl Grey hot, and we get a cup of tea that materializes by converting energy into matter. But clearly we're a long way from something like that. And probably one of the more likely advances that we'll see soon will be the creation or the growing of meat in laboratories, which will reduce the burden of livestock on the environment and the need to consume huge amounts of energy in order to transport livestock, process livestock into meat, and the consumption of meat and the foods that animals consume in order to convert that energy into biomass that is consumed by people. Increasing rates of poverty in some cultures is a major issue of the globalized world. This is also, of course, related to increases in inequality of wealth. To give you a comparison in small-scale societies, it is about maximum that a man could be 5 times as good of a hunter as the average man. That would be about the major differences between one man and another in terms of their productive capabilities, attributes, and acquisitions. But today's world, it's possible in the globalized world in any case, for one individual to be so much wealthier than another. We can't hardly comprehend what the meaning of the magnitude is in our brains, simply because the vastness of the numbers seems somewhat meaningless without trying to translate that into some real-world application. For example, there's 8 men, it was reported in 2017, who control half of the world's wealth. According to Inc.com, these were Bill Gates, Amancio Ortega, Warren Buffett, Carlos Slim, Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, Larry Ellison, and Michael Bloomberg. By comparison, more than 1.3 billion people live in extreme poverty, less than $1.25 per day. 805 million people worldwide don't have enough food to eat today. Solving the world's inequality and poverty problems is a real challenge for social scientists. That challenge involves navigating a delicate balance or nuance between providing motivation and incentive for individuals to work as hard as they want, to receive rewards for investments they put into the system, while at the same time providing people with equal opportunities to access resources. Not necessarily that the end result is everyone has the same, because individuals may put in differing amounts of productive activity. Healthcare and infectious diseases are clearly a major problem that the world is going to be dealing with now and far into the future as populations grow and people continue this rural to urban migration. Questions social scientists are asking at the moment about COVID-19 is whether these infectious rates of this pandemic could be having a dampening effect on the rural to urban migration, and if it will in fact reverse some of that migration, and perhaps we will see some urban flight as a result of this coronavirus pandemic. At this moment in time, we do not know when this pandemic and economic fallout will cease to be a challenge for the globalized world as we all go through this collective liminality together. Today, scientists are investigating, can we get a vaccine? Can we get antibody treatment? Can we get high-quality tests that are actually highly accurate? Can we implement ethical strategies that don't take away people's freedoms by doing tracing so that we can see where infections and outbreaks are? And if a person gets coronavirus, do they have immunity? And if so, how long does that immunity last? Will people continue to get this coronavirus year after year after year as it mutates, like the flu? These are all major questions that we're dealing with right now with respect to this pandemic. But there are many health researchers who are also questioning what's going to be the next pandemic and when will that occur? And how can we better plan for that? At least far better than has happened in the United States to date. Challenges of security are major issues throughout the globalized world, especially in times of pandemics or extreme stratification of wealth. Because when individuals have relatively so little compared to others, it creates great incentives to violate social norms and laws that can result in increased crimes such as thefts, burglaries, murders, petty crimes, etc. And of course, those are ones that may happen within cultures, but you can also have these things happen between cultures. More worrisome, clearly though, are the major security issues that can happen on a global scale when there's significant regional or global instability between nations. When nation-states act together to foment coordinated information warfare, such as what has happened against the United States, and political warfare against the United States, and also financial warfare. We're, of course, not the only country that deals with these issues, as every nation is considering those same kinds of problems at their borders and beyond their borders. Finally, there are big questions about intellectual property. In the United States, we have a cultural norm that we don't steal other people's ideas. And when it comes to inventions and innovations, we try to respect and revere the patent law system, allowing those who have invested the time and energy to invent ideas to reap rewards from those ideas for a certain period of time. However, in the globalized world, when countries encounter other nations' attitudes and values, they may find that other cultures may not hold those same ideals to the same degree. I'll leave you to ponder some of these great questions of globalization further. And we'll come back in a moment and talk about the world's aging population. Have a great day.